Yeah, so I just ran across this, and I have never heard of this man before. And I know we have some Australian viewers, so I want to talk about this while also saying, this is like a quick headline that we've run across. Okay, like that's the segment, but it's this man named Ahmad Alamaddine from Australia. So if you're from Australia and you know who this guy is, I want to hear all about what you know in the comments. Because it says that he is from like a crime gang, like a notorious
like a crime
one.
family?
Yeah, in Australia. And he is one of the most wanted men in the country.
Wow.
And he was recently arrested and caught in the middle of having sex with a girl. Like they literally ran up on him in there while he was having sex, and
they
then
caught you with your pants down, bro.
Exactly. And he literally makes a run for it with just his t-shirt on and nothing else.
I mean, if you're a crime mob boss or criminal or whatever, what options do you have,
Yeah, it says, so he's a member of one of Sydney's most notorious crime families.
And they didn't catch him with no shoes, like only wearing a shirt? They didn't catch him? Cops didn't have the upper hand?
So it said this, like, dramatic event, okay, where they walk in on him and stuff, ended a 4-week manhunt. Like,
Wow.
Sorry. They've been hunting for him for 4 weeks after he ran from officers from his Green Acre home in the city's west on August 3rd.
Huh.
And it was to investigate firearm offenses. It says, it shows a bunch of pictures of this place that they found him in, and it's the Bundock Street unit block where police... Okay, so I'm guessing this is in Sydney. But it's like, they're calling it a crack den is what they're calling it. And it's like littered with drugs and,
Jeez.
All kinds of stuff.
What you would expect to see in like a crime house.
Yeah, I mean, apparently his girlfriend was arrested when he fled from the home 4 weeks ago, because of him.
She took the fall. Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Which, this is them picture. Here. Pull it up for you.
Okay. Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. Just save that link so we can have the viewers follow along there.
Girlfriend Jade Heifer is currently behind bars after helping him, or allegedly helping him, escape from the Green Acre home. She's pictured with her husband, she's a widower of this guy who was executed last year.
Okay.
Like, I think on the streets. Like I said, I don't know a lot about this, but
that
knowing there's this crazy,
life.
I know, like, crime family in Sydney, Australia, and they're like, I don't know, this feels like very old school America.
Yeah.
Like
mob family type.
Yeah. This isn't something you see a lot in America anymore, is these like mafia type families.
Maybe in other countries that's still how crime works. There's pros and cons to those mob style families, and while you guys know I have an obsession with serial killer psyche, I'm also obsessed with that old school criminal culture mob mentality too, because these guys followed rules. It was like you had the cops, you had the mobsters knew that they were the mice, the cops knew that they were the cat, and it was always a game of cat and mouse,
Yep.
and the mobsters had very specific rules they followed. No women, no children. They didn't hit homes where families could get hurt. Like, they made sure they respected these things, and it was only game on when actual criminals that were, the shot callers or the gangsters or whatever, were out in the open by themselves, essentially. And, crime was very different back then
It was.
than it used to be now, where there's no rules, and in the street life anymore. It's anyone, anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're holding your kid's hand. It doesn't matter, you know. So I wonder if that's beneficial, that's more like old school type-ish. But they seem like put together people. So just by image, you know, and that doesn't say a lot. I understand that. You can't look at somebody and know if they're put together or not. But they care enough at least to put themselves together to take that picture.
Yeah, that was her husband, and this is him.
Okay.
So he looks a little rougher than her boyfriend did.
I mean, mugshots make
did.
everybody look awful. That dang lighting. So,
dude, it's so crazy. But you know, after he jumped out the window, caught in the act with just a t-shirt on, totally bottomless, okay, like literally balls to the wind.
Yeah.
He jumped over a fence, and then the officers literally lost him, and then he came back, and then he tried to run away again.
What?
I know, it's just so weird.
Wow, there must have been stuff there he needed or something.
But
I'm super curious to hear more about this, so I hope that our Australian viewers can give us some insight.
Yeah, because I want to look more into it for sure. I want to know, is this like a mafia-type family, like, situation that's going on here? Because they keep talking about, like, a crime family. They're talking about, you know, Jade's ex-husband being, like, executed, and it kind of sounds like it was by criminals, you know, like, in some kind of situation, you know, like a disagreement. And, I don't know. It's just, I thought it was wild, and it's kind of funny thinking about him jumping out the window.
It is funny.
With just a t-shirt on.
It is funny. It is
running down the street. Where did he go? They lost him.
Well, if they lost him, it makes me, like, the image I have in my head is that right over the fence, there's, like, a lot of brush, or what Australians would call the bush. And I would assume they lost him in there, you know. Australia has gnarly animals and spiders and... This
is like a city.
Okay, well, I don't know then.
We're not talking.
I don't know. I
you
guess
think
we'll have
in
to look
Australia,
it up on Google
in every
Maps.
city, there's just bushes, like crazy jungle type little bushes everywhere?
No, like desertous bush. Yes, I do think so. That's the entire landscape. I just don't know how much of that is left in Sydney. I don't think there's just ranches all over the place, but
it looks like this is what he was, like, escaping to.
See, I mean, I guess you could hide a willy behind those.
Yeah, his willy, but they lost the whole man. His willy.
Yeah. That's funny. But yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
I want to know more.
I want to know more too, and I'm definitely going to have to look more into it, because this is the first I've ever heard of any of this.
I wonder if there's meat on the bone there to look into how crime works in other countries, because we have North American crime, right? Because we're right next to Mexico, so it functions very similarly with the Mexican crime families up in the U.S. because bordering, and we're the consumers, they're the manufacturers. That's kind of how it works, you know. But is it like that in other places, like Central America, South America, Europe, Australia, the Asian countries? Like, you know, it makes me interested, or it makes me want to go looking and figure out how it works, because you have is it China or Japan that's the Yakuza? I don't want to mix it up. I think it's Japanese.
Japan.
Yeah, Japanese, because tattoos, the swords, and cutting off fingers, all that. Yep. So I think they still function very similarly to how they used to back in the day, where there are rules, and if you do something wrong, you cut off a finger or a hand or something like that to swear your loyalties. You know, it's real respect-driven, even though you're a criminal that lives outside of society's rules. A lot of those Yakuza guys don't see themselves as criminals. They just don't see themselves as needing to follow society's rules. So it's a different way of looking at things, you know. You can still respect humanity and not respect society's rules, but even though that'll make you a criminal or whatever. But, yeah, I'm curious.
I am curious... in international crime, I feel like I actually don't look into it that much, unless it's like a crazy headline-breaking story like this.
Yep.
But I'm sure it goes so much deeper, and I'm sure it varies quite a bit country to country. Like, because of the societal rules, those unspoken rules, they definitely will impact a criminal, like the way they conduct themselves, the way they maneuver around society. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to look at.
It is interesting. And even when it comes down to, you know, different crime families and mobsters and gangs and everything are focused on different drugs, you know. The Middle East is where, like, the poppy opium stuff comes out of. China, Japan is where, like, the club drugs and all that, the scientific type drug creations come out of. And then, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Pot from South America and Central America and California.
Yeah, and they just sell all of it to us.
Right, right. I know it. I know.
We're just the trash can of the world.
Yep.